Immaterial and Missing Power, or IaMP for short, is an independently made fighter that was released a few years ago but never got a lot of attention because many gamers found it difficult to understand. The mechanics of the game does make it unique among all the other fighting games out there, so hopefully this video will help further your understanding of how things work. As with most newer games, IaMP uses a standard number notation, with the numbers on your keyboard's numpad representing a direction. So 1 would be down back, 2 would be down, 3 would be down forward, and so on, so forth. The game uses 4 buttons, A, B, C, and D. There isn't a standardized button layout because the game doesn't have an arcade standard, so you're free to set the layout the way you'd like. Just remember to keep the D button in a convenient place, since you'll be using it very often. We'll start with basic attacks. In IaMP, A and B at close range will be your melee attacks, with A usually being a punch and B usually being a kick. You can do these attacks standing, crouching, or jumping. This is all standard to every fighting game out there. Each one of these attacks also has a height associated with it. High-level moves have to be blocked standing, low-level moves have to be blocked crouching, and mid-level moves can be blocked either way. From here on, we get into command normals, which are done by adding a direction to a melee attack. Every character has a 6A and a 6B, with different properties depending on the character. Some of them have extra command normals on top of those. Here we can see Yukari, who has both a jumping 2A and a jumping 2B. Command normals, just like regular ones, also have heights. After command normals, we have guard crush attacks. These are universal attacks done with 2-2A or 2-2B, and they're considered special melee attacks which always hit high or low. They're a little slower than the other moves, but there are specific uses for them, which we'll get to in a second. Some melee attacks have different properties when you get a counter hit. Counter hits are very obvious in this game. Whenever someone is counter hit, stars begin to fly everywhere. Some moves will wall slam, like Alice's counter hit 6B. Others will ground slam, like Marissa's counter hit jump A. There is also reeling, which you can see here with Yuko's counter hit 6A. In IaMP, you can use bullets in addition to melee attacks. Bullet attacks are done by using A or B at a distance, or the C button. Bullets can be used to zone and poke just like melee moves. Here we see Reimu doing the far A, far 6A, and far 2A. Notice how the far 6A is just the angled up version of her far A, but her far 2A is completely different. Not all far attacks work at the same range either. Some characters can use them very close, while others need to be much further back. The C button is dedicated for bullets, regardless of your character's range. Like with the far A and far B, you can add directions to get different moves. Not all characters have the same directions, so you may have to experiment to find out the full moveset. Here we have Sakuya doing standing C, crouching C, 6C, jump C, and jump 2C. So far we've only covered the normal movesets for every character. On top of that, we also have special moves. IaMP doesn't have any complex motions for the special moves. Most of them are traditional fighting game motions, such as 2-3-6, which is quarter circle forward, 2-1-4, which is quarter circle back, or 6-2-3, which is Shoryuken motion. To see a move list for your character, just pause the game in training mode and it'll show up on screen. Just like with your normal attacks, specials are broken down into 2 types, melee and bullet. Melee specials are like Mayrin's 6-2-3 or Yomu's 2-1-4. Bullet specials, on the other hand, are moves like Reimu's 2-3-6 or Alice's 2-1-4. These moves use the spirit bar, which you can see on the bottom of the screen. The spirit bar is the center of IaMP gameplay, used primarily to do bullet moves. When you're attacking, doing normal bullets like C or far A will cost spirit. Using bullet type specials and certain spell cards will also drain your spirit bar, depending on what move you're using. The spirit bar is also used to block. Blocking a bullet of any kind will drain spirit. Auto-guarding a melee move the wrong way or air blocking will also lower the bar. If you block a guard crush the wrong way, you'll instantly lose all the spirit you have. If you're not careful, you can also drain your own spirit bar by using a bullet when you don't have enough spirit to cover it. Once the bar is empty, it'll turn red and you're considered to be guard crushed. Being guard crushed has a few effects. The first is that you can't use bullets, special moves, or spell cards at all. Second, you won't be able to air block since that requires spirit. Anything you block will also do chip damage, even if it normally doesn't, although in this game you can't die from chip. Your spirit will also regenerate slower than normal, and there's nothing you can do to speed it up, besides waiting. On the other hand, while you're guard crushed, your bar will automatically regenerate and can't be damaged. So, going back to the spirit bar, how exactly do you get spirit back? Well, there's a couple of ways. The first is simply waiting. See how there's a little pause after you use a bullet type move before the bar starts regenerating? This is so you don't regenerate too fast. The second is by getting point items, which are the little tabs you see flying around the screen. You don't have to do anything special to pick them up, they're automatically collected. When you pick them up, your spirit will recharge depending on how many points you collected. Point items show up in two situations. One is when you knock the opponent down. The other is when you hit the opponent while they have bullets on screen. This is called conversion. Every bullet type attack has a different point of when it can get converted. Some of them, like Yomu's C, will convert if she gets hit. Others, like Alice's 236A, will only convert if she's knocked down. A few attacks don't get converted at all, like Reimu's 214. The denser a bullet is, the more point items it'll give you. Here we have Suika's 421 getting converted, and you can see how it gives up a bunch of point items and fills the entire bar back up. Another way to get spirit back is by using a bomb. Bombs are universal attacks done by pressing 22C. In a neutral state, if you hit your opponent with a bomb, they'll be knocked back and you'll instantly get all of your spirit back. This is called a neutral bomb. Bombs can also be used when attacking or blocking. Here we see a bomb done during Sakuya's attack, which lets her cancel the attack early and keep going to the full spirit bar. This is called an offensive bomb, and you can also do this on block to make some punishable moves safe. An offensive bomb is a melee type attack, so it'll deal a bit of damage, unlike the other two bombs. Offensive bombs will always juggle the enemy upwards. You can also bomb during block stuff, which is called a defensive bomb. This bomb happens much faster than the other ones. You can tell if you did it right because it'll always counter hit. It's much safer than a neutral bomb because it's guaranteed, but the window to do it is pretty small, and you also do not get spirit back when you do this. You can only have 2 bombs at any given time, shown by the stars in the corner of your screen. To get bombs, you have to pick up a certain number of point items, so the faster you get point items, the faster you're going to get bombs. As far as defense options go, we've already mentioned auto guard and bombing, which are mostly used against melee attacks. There's one more defense option, and that's used against bullets. That's called grazing. In IaMP, you're allowed to go through almost every bullet by either using a dash or a high jump. It can be difficult to get used to this when you're starting out, but it's essential to learn so that you don't get locked down forever by bullets. Every character has a dash and backdash, both on the ground and in midair. You actually get 2 air dashes in midair, except for Romelia, who gets 3. Everyone also has 3 high jumps: high jump 7, high jump 8, and high jump 9. All of these moves have blue shadows, which means your character is grazing. During this time, bullets will pass through them without any effect. But dashes aren't the only moves that can graze. Every character except Romelia has graze attacks, which are universal moves done by attacking with A or B during a dash. You can do this during a front dash with 6 or a crouching dash with 3. So you can use 6A, 6B, 3A, and 3B during a dash. Graze attacks are similar to normal attacks, but have graze frames during the animation, allowing you to go through bullets and hit the opponent. Some moves have more graze frames than others. Watch Marissa's 6DA versus her 3DB. Movement plays an essential role in IaMP. This is where the D button comes into play. Every movement in the game can be controlled by the D button as a shortcut, so you're not constantly double tapping. Though it's possible to double tap for dashes and use down up for high jumps, the amount of movement required can quickly make things very difficult. Using the D button lets you do all of these movements with a simple direction and button press. You can even hold the D button down and press directions to get dashes and high jumps. Holding down 6D when you're dashing will also make most characters dash longer. At some point in time, you're going to get knocked down, either on the ground or in midair. When that happens, you have a few options available to you. Because of the juggle system, after a certain point, you won't be able to get hit anymore, so doing nothing will let you drop to the ground and recover in the same spot where you fell. Alternately, you can air tech by pressing either 4 or 6 and any button. This will make you recover in midair while flying backwards or forwards. On the ground, you can do the same thing as you get up, to roll backwards or forwards. Now that we've gotten all the fundamentals of movement out of the way, we can tie it into how movement is a part of your attacks as well. IaMP has a basic chain of cancels that is a complete one-way street. Melee moves can be cancelled into command normals. Those can be cancelled into bullets. Bullets can be cancelled into specials, and specials can be super cancelled in spell cards. You can omit any of these steps as long as you follow the same order. So, for example, you can do a melee into a special into a spell card, or a command normal into a bullet into a special, but you can't do a bullet into a command normal. The exception to this chain is guard crushes. Guard crushes are somewhere in between the command normal and special area. You can only cancel into them from a melee or a command normal, but you can super cancel them into spell cards. You cannot use bullets or specials before or after them at all. In addition to canceling moves into other moves, IaMP also allows you to cancel bullet type attacks with high jumps. This is called high jump canceling, and it gives you a tremendous amount of possibilities for attacks. Instead of just moving up the chain, you can now continue attacking after doing a bullet attack and put together some very long pressure strings. Here we can see Patchouli starting her rushdown from 5B, cancelling it into 6B, then 5C, and from there using high jump cancel 9 to continue attacking with a low air dash jump B. You can see the advantage of using high jump cancel to attack here with Yuko. If she was attacking without cover fire, she can be beaten out pretty easily by almost anyone else in the cast because of how slow her air melee is. But here, with her 2-3-6 attack out beforehand, she's attacking with cover fire. Now it becomes difficult to beat her out in the air because she has the initiative. If Yomu tries to beat Yuko with a melee move, the butterflies will interrupt whatever she tries to do. Yomu's forced to either block or graze, and since you can't block during a graze, the situation is completely in Yuko's favor. With this information, we can now begin to see how IaMP mix-up works. Pressure comes in the form of attack strings that are a series of melee attacks, cancelled into bullet attacks, which are then cancelled into high jumps. The gaps in these strings are during the bullet attacks, during which you can either dash or high jump to graze and escape. This is the bullet melee portion of the mix-up. But escaping the pressure isn't always guaranteed. There's counters that the attacker can use to stop someone who predictably tries the same escape each time. Here we can see Reimu rushing Mayrin down in the corner. Reimu's using her 2C to keep Mayrin in block stuff while chipping away at her spirit. The next time Reimu comes in, Mayrin tries to escape the 2C by using high jump 8. Reimu reads the attempt and uses high jump cancel 9 jump B to counter the high jump 8. You can see that it lands as a counter hit, even though Mayrin wasn't attacking. This is because high jumps have a brief window during startup where they put you in a counter hit state. Later on in the match, Mayrin is back in the corner again with Reimu locking her down. This time Mayrin tries to graze forward out of the corner instead of using high jump 8. However, Reimu reads this attempt too, and uses a 6-2-3-A to stop the graze. Here we have the same situation, but instead of trying high jump 8, Mayrin tries to graze forward. Reimu was trying to counter a high jump 8, so her attack whiffs, and Mayrin gets out of the corner. Now let's say that Reimu finally lands a guard crush. At this point, Mayrin isn't worried about taking spirit damage anymore. She doesn't have any spirit to drain, and she can't die from chip damage, so she just starts blocking, waiting until Reimu runs herself low. This is where high-low mix-ups come into play. Because you cannot auto-guard during guard crush, a series of high and low hits can quickly deal a lot of damage if blocked incorrectly. In addition to this, some normal moves have a property called stagger, which forces you into a standing animation. You still can block the next attack even though it looks like you're vulnerable, but during stagger you cannot use bombs or crouch, and the animation itself leaves you open for a very long time, so the opponent can keep on pressuring you while you're staggered. Once you land a solid hit, it's time to see how much damage you can get from it. Combos in IaMP are almost all situational, and a lot of them start air to air. Some characters have simple combos that begin from the ground, like Vermilia here. Others have counter hit only combos, like Yuko off counter hit 5A. But overall, air to air juggles like the one you see Sakuya doing are what you usually see in real matches. IaMP has a juggle meter that can be switched on to make it easier to figure out the maximum hits a combo can get. When the opponent's placed in a juggle situation, the bar will appear to indicate two things. One is how much juggle potential is remaining. The other is the amount of time you have left to get the next hit. The longer the bar is, the more juggle potential there is. This means that with a long bar, you can juggle a lot of hits before it starts running shorter and shorter. But to balance this out is the speed at which the bar runs down. Each hit will make the bar run down faster, so even if you have a lot of juggle potential, if you don't land the next hit right away, the opponent will be able to air tech or fall to the ground. It's possible to use this meter to do air-to-air juggles, like with Marissa here, or you can do ground-to-air juggles in the corner, like Yuko. Look closely at the last combo. Yuko uses an offensive bomb to relaunch the opponent after the 412A. The height makes it look like she can keep going, but once you try it, it's impossible. This is because bombs shorten the juggle potential by a lot, so as a general rule, bombs shouldn't be used in your bread and butters if you can avoid it. Last up is the spell card system, which is IaMP's version of Supers. Compared to everything else, spell cards are relatively simple. When you pick a character, you also pick two spell cards, one for your first and one for your second round. You have three choices for both cards, and if you want to hide your selection, you can press D. Both players can use their first spell card in the first match, but the second spell card is only available after you lose a round. There's a little circular meter next to your spare bar that shows how much you have towards a level, and how many levels you already have. You can't use supers anytime you want though. They're only usable once you've declared by pressing 22D. When you declare, you will have a bit of startup animation, and once that's done, you'll be completely invincible as you regenerate all the dark red life in your life bar. A timer will pop up to show you how much time you have left to use your spell cards. This timer is determined by how many levels you had when you declared. Pressing 236D will make your character use whatever spell card you picked at the beginning. Some spell cards even have a variant that you can do by pressing 214D. When the timer runs out, the spell card phase is over. You won't get any more levels for the rest of the round, and you won't have any more red life that you can regenerate. Also, you can't declare again until the next round. That's pretty much all the basics of this game. There was a lot of information to go through, and this game is definitely more complex than a lot of people have been willing to give it credit for. If you want to learn the game further, you can take a look at the wiki, which has a lot of character and engine specific information. You can also drop by the IRC channel if you want to get some netplay matches, or if you want to discuss the mechanics in further detail. All of the information is right on the screen, so check it out if you like. Thanks for watching the tutorial.